Hey athletes, what's going on? Brandon Sean Brown here, physical therapist and performance coach. Get your fixed physical therapy, get your fixed nutrition, CrossFit coach, and running technique specialist. And I work with athletes to get you from injury to PR in 8 to 12 weeks. So I've gotten in several conversations earlier today, so it's a little bit on my mind. So I figured I would hop in here and talk to all of you, since I'm sure if 5 people on Facebook are having issues, a lot of you are too. And that is grinding in your knees. Painful or not, it is something common that happens with a lot of people. I hear it a lot with my runners. I hear it a lot in the CrossFit community as well. Hey Tom, hey Anthony, thanks for hopping on. So first and foremost, what's grinding when our knees are grinding? Without getting like an x-ray under movement or some sort of imaging with diagnostic imaging with movement, it's hard to say which part of the joint is grinding specifically. But it could be because we could be the kneecap on the femur, so the long bone in the thigh, or it could be the 2 long bones themselves grinding together. Now, is this necessarily a bad thing if it's not painful? I go with the maybe, maybe not thing. Our bodies, if we're going to have pain if something is ultimately a really bad thing. With that said, when we do have increased pressure in that joint, we are causing some wear and tear in there, potentially to the cartilage, potentially to the meniscus. Long term, could it do some damage? Possibly. So how do we correct this? How do we resolve this? What do we do? So a couple things. I'm just going to go touch real quick on the supplement side of things, and then we'll go into the activity side of things. Supplement-wise, one thing I take every day and suggest athletes in general take is collagen, specifically collagen peptides in powder form. It's super easy to pretty much mix into anything because it's flavorless. Most of them are. But what it does is it helps protect soft tissues. So keeps the cartilage, meniscus, tendons, ligaments, muscles, everything nice and strong, nice and healthy, which helps keep everything in that joint healthy and strong. To the activity side of things, when we get this grinding of the knees, a couple things are going on, or couple common issues are going on, I should say. There could be a lot of issues depending on the person, but common trends is when we have tightness in any of the muscles that cross the knee, most often it's going to be the quads, potentially the hip flexors, we get an increased pressure on that joint. So when there's increased pressure on that joint, it doesn't let that joint space open up as much, and it causes that, or it can contribute to that grinding. So that's one thing that could be contributing. The other thing that often contributes is we forget from a very young age how to move properly. It sounds crazy, but it happens. So what happens is, especially when we're squatting, we become very quad dominant, which means we're bringing our knees forward a little bit more than ideal. We're using our quads for everything. Once again, putting pressure on the knees, not using our hips, not using our glutes as much. Long term, this puts pressure on the joints. Sorry about that, internet went weird. Long term, causes increased pressure on the joints. It causes that joint to just move in a way that's not ideal for it. So it causes irritation. It causes a little bit of aggravation in that knee, ultimately the grinding. Along with that, tightness in the hips, especially when we're talking about squatting and running, tightness in the hips can cause a lot of this as well, changing up our movement patterns a little bit. So ultimately, to address this long term, what needs to be done is need to typically it's keeping the quads and hip flexors loose, loosening everything up so it's not causing increased pressure on the knees. Thanks everyone for hopping on, I really appreciate it. But also retraining your movement patterns, and in order to move properly, so in the way that your body is meant to move, in order to take the pressure off those areas, in order to get the joint surfaces actually sliding like they're supposed to. So it can be a pretty complex answer, but it can be a pretty simple fix as well. Hey Dan, thanks for hopping on. So if you have any questions on this, definitely post those on here. But ultimately, a lot of it comes down to, when we're talking about the knees grinding, a lot of it comes down to tightness in the quads, being very quad dominant, and needing to adjust movement patterns a little bit. So let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know any questions you have. Definitely post those on here in the comments section if you do have any questions. And as usual, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook Messenger. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. So hope you're having an amazing Wednesday, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.